Next up is yukata. This is a Japanese traditional kind of informal garment. It's not the same as a kimono, which you've probably heard of. These are more worn during the summer, a little bit more informal, and they're often cotton or polyester, so not the luscious silks of kimonos, that sort of thing. We have a large Japanese American heritage here on the Front Range in Longmont, and hope that this piece would help represent that community. See? And bear with me. Can we stop for questions after each presentation, each one, or should do we want to ask questions at the end? Either way, it's fine. Okay, I'll keep charging along. Start. This guy was from another donor. This is a very large chili pepper barrel. It's made of cardboard, and it's about the size of an office desk or office chair. It was used to ship chili powder to the Kuhner-Epson cannery, probably in the 60s, but I'm not really sure on the date. I thought it was just a neat artifact from the Kuhner-Epson cannery. Let's see. Next up, from another donor, are a set of two ladies' suits. They're both skirt suits. One is a kind of a lovely purple color, and another is a navy blue. They're both from the 1940s, and have the purple one has a label in it from the Denver Dry department store that was in Denver and was pretty important in the area. And we do not have women's suits from the 1940s. The 1940s clothing is hard to come by for historic collections because of World War II. There's a lot of rationing, people weren't buying suits. And if you did have a good suit, you wore it so much, they didn't survive. Anyway, so I thought these were good examples of, especially the Denver Dry logo and what a woman would have worn in the 1940s. Maybe she was going to work during the day or to church. And last but not least is an addition to a previous donation, that collection of documents that you approved in December of last year. So the donor found a few more things. The most interesting one is probably the small card in the bottom right corner of the photograph. It is a membership card to the South Rampart Street Paraders from 1956 and 1957. Mr. Dick Westerberg played the trumpet in the Paraders. And he got it signed on the back by
Louis Armstrong.
Louis Armstrong. So that's even worth adding to the Westerberg collection. So that's everybody. Anybody have questions for me?
People who are donating, are they people who live in Longmont? Or they're from somewhere else?
So each collection, each page here is from a different donor. Let's see. Yes, generally. And most of the objects, so the gentleman who donated the chili barrel was cleaning out his uncle's garage. And this piece held the rakes in the garage for a long time. Turns out he delivered produce from the family farm to the cannery and probably just saw this on the shipping delivery zone and was like, oh, that would make a good, useful thing. And so it's those kind of stories that are, yes. So generally, folks are either cleaning out or, cleaning up family members' offenses.
So the Japanese that's from yukata, that's from somebody here.
So the yukata was not worn by, one of the Japanese American families in the area, but because I thought it was a good addition, because the collection does not have much to represent the Japanese American experience. So I agree that this one has less of a long, very specific long mock tie than the Chili Girl. But I would include it in the accessions because I think it will be useful in exhibitions if we want to grow our Japanese American representation. And then Dick Westerberg lived in Longmont in the 50s. So yeah, it's a little bit of everything.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion to accept or some or all?
Motion to accept.
Some or all?
All.
Okay, thank you. Is there a second?
Good.
Okay, we'll take Tom. All in favor? That is unanimous. Fabulous. So we'll accept both those accessions. Thank you very much. We'll move on to the reports. So I will turn it over to Eric as the interim director to give the director's report.
Okay, so you have the written report, so I'm not going to go through that. I'll just mention a few highlights, big things that have happened in the last month. Obviously, the biggest one was the departure of Kim. Her last day was March 31st. And so staff is working with the Director of Recreation and Culture, Jeff Friesner, developing kind of a list of attributes that we'd like to see in a new museum director. And he is aware that we definitely want that position filled as quickly as possible, so he's working to get that process going. One of the things that's definitely come up in that process is Kim had, I believe, 8 people reporting directly to her, and that's just really not sustainable going forward. So trying to figure out a way to make the museum org chart a little less flat is one of the priorities in this process. Exhibits, they are really heavily working on our next exhibit, agriculture, which opens up in June. You can see some of the things that they are planning on doing, some of the pieces that will be exhibited. And under auditorium programming, it's been a busy couple of months with auditorium programming, starting with Boulder International Film Festival, Friday afternoon concerts, Thursday night at the museum, lots of things going on. So I've been really busy, and some of the great things are a lot of the Native American programming has been really well attended. We've, I believe, 50 people attending poetry reading, most we've ever had for poetry reading in Longmont. So neat to see people coming out for some more specialized programming. Education, again, really seeing return to the levels of attendance we saw before COVID. Discovery Days, our early childhood program, is record turnout. Our art and SIPs, every class filled to capacity. So really, really good to see the museum back filled again this spring.
So Eric, can I ask a question? The art and SIP, is there any remaining virtual aspect to that, or is that all in person? Again,
They went back all in person. The virtuals, it was really hard to find any way to make those pay for themselves, and because our education department is entirely self-funded, other than salary, it really, we need all of our programs to generate some revenues.
There's such programs sell out real fast.
Mhm.
I tried to get in on one, a couple, and they were completely gone. And the person who's hired to do them she has some, private classes. They're really expensive, because I have them online.
So, yeah.
It's a good deal. The Art and Sip are really a good deal.
Mhm. We try to make our programs affordable to the vast majority of Longmont residents. It's an important part of our equitable access program. Under collections, Eileen has been great. She's really stepped up and filled in a lot as I've stepped into the director role. She's taken on a lot of things for me, including training volunteers. So that's been a big part of her work the last few weeks. Under visitor services, we have our first full-time staff member for our front desk and office assistant. Was a front desk staff member, Heather Studiman. And so that's really going to be a great addition to have a lot more consistency at the front desk. She'll also do a lot of management of other front desk staff, things like that. So we're excited to have her on board, and then we brought in a couple more front desk staff that will start in the next few weeks. So the big thing I want to talk about is under development. We've got two big announcements here. One is the capital campaign. So we've been talking about that for a while, but Megan, our development manager, working with Prismatic Consulting, and Megan will be here at the May meeting to talk about this in more detail. But one of the things that we've decided to do is increase our goal to $30 million. So we have a $20 million goal, but realizing that was not going to get us the full museum expansion, we decided to increase it to $30 million. And then even bigger thing to note, so we are going to City Council on April 25th for approval of this capital campaign to get it started. And one of the things that this board certainly has the opportunity to do is advise City Council. So if any of you wish to go to that council meeting and appear publicly invited to be heard in support of that capital campaign, as well as another item that's on that agenda, which is the library, recreation, culture tax initiative. Those will be coming back before City Council for further direction. It's an opportunity to express your support for museum expansion, for the campaign, and for hopefully some funding of museum operating funds through the city. So those meetings are at 7 p.m. on Tuesday nights, and you sign up in advance. There's often a long list of folks that want to talk and public invited to be heard. But really great to have some folks speak to the members of this one.
I would recommend that. We hear from the library often. And yeah, I think it makes an impact, as far as people viewing city council meetings. It really highlights and gets the department on the map.
So, in addition to attending the city council meeting, is there an expectation that board members hypothetically would make a presentation to, or is that up to you? We're just there to support.
So there is a portion at the beginning of the meeting that's called public invited to be heard, and you sign up and you have 3 minutes and you can speak on any topic. And that's
range of topics.
and yes, there's a variety of things. So that's when really the opportunity is for you all to speak. I don't yet know whether the capital campaign will be on what they call the consent agenda, in which case there wouldn't be necessarily a need for a presentation, or whether it's part of general business, in which case I'd make a short presentation. But public invited to be heard is really that point in the meeting when the public and board members can come up and speak for those 3 minutes.
So that's when people, the citizens can ask when Winchell's Donuts is going to be open again, right?
I brought it up yesterday.
So, but I'm happy to talk more offline about that as well. If you have any questions or how that meeting works. But it really is one of the things that council members have expressed is, they want to see the public supporting these projects. So this is one of the ways that they can see that.
So Eric, I'm wondering if it might be beneficial to send a follow-up email to the board tomorrow. I'm personally going to be out of town next week, so I won't be able to attend. But I'm wondering if it might be beneficial so that even those that aren't here tonight can get a heads up, maybe go ahead and sign up.
I'm glad I can't really tell you what to say, but I can certainly make you aware that the museum is on the agenda.
Yeah, I think that follow-up might help prompt some folks to sign up and hopefully see. And it doesn't have to be the full 3 minutes. If you want to take 30 seconds to just say, I support the museum expansion, do it. But feel free to say whatever is on your mind.
All right, so I will let you read the rest of the report, but one other thing I just want to note is that board recruitment is underway right now. We have 3 board members whose terms are up, Bruce Montgomery, Tom Kurtz, and Miguel Cordova. And then we also have 1 vacancy. And I believe Bruce and Kelly all are eligible for renewal if they should choose to do that. But you do have to reapply. It's not an automatic.
I did do that. I forget the deadline was, might be this Friday.
Deadline is this Friday.
We're looking to have it extended, so we had a meeting
Good.
last night, our pre-session, and we discussed with the city manager and city attorney, and we gave direction at that time to extend.
Okay.
So we're looking at the logistics.
That means more competition for them.
Well, hopefully we can fill that vacant, but you never know.
So Susie, there's no specific about when, or it's just to recruit longer?
It was, the idea was before we closed everything off was that we would allow for more time for recruiting people to apply. So we didn't set a date. I think it was really, we pushed it back on staff to see what's feasible. So I'm sorry, that's not helpful.
By all means, get your applications in if you're interested in and if you can think of folks who have that vacancy that would be a good fit for the advisory board, we would love to have a full board. That is my report.
Fantastic. All right, next on the agenda is the report of the chair. I do not have a report. So we'll move on to the library renovation and cultural funds. Survey reports.
Laptop over here and walk through that. So you can see up on the screen here, this is the results of a survey that the city conducted to gauge public support for a series of tax initiatives. And the first question that relates to the museum is, kind of ranking cultural facilities based on their value. We see here the museum is, in terms of being ranked numbers 1 through 3, 29% of the people surveyed rank the museum in the top 3. So we're pleased with that when you consider we've got the library, recreation center, senior center are the only ones ahead of us. Our next question relates to new recreation and cultural projects. So this is really why council directed that these surveys be done, looking at is there community appetite for a tax initiative in November. At council meeting a few weeks ago, the folks that did this survey gave a presentation. One of the things that they said is you want to see at least 60% voting yes in a survey like this, because there haven't been campaigns, there hasn't been really anybody having a chance to think about it. It's just, easy answer before you really want to go forward with a tax initiative. And so one of the things we see here is that the New Branch Library is really the only one that gets to that level. Museum and Cultural Center expansion is at 54%, so above 50%, but based in part on this and in part on the work from our capital campaign consultants, staff has made the decision to really pull the capital side of the museum off of consideration for the tax initiative. So we would be raising that money through the capital campaign rather than through a tax initiative. But there is still a need for operating expenses, which are much harder to raise through a capital campaign. So that's where we would still be looking for support from a tax initiative. So basically there's a lot of information here about different ways that you can slice and dice these survey results. Then there's also results on park projects. And another element is people asking, would they be more interested in bundling projects together? So for example, when the museum was originally built, there was a ballot issue that funded the museum, the rec center, and improvements to Roosevelt Park. And that passed with over 80%. Since then, a couple of things have changed. One, that they were able to do without a tax increase. And actually, I believe the law has changed, and you can no longer bundle projects that are quite that diverse. They have to have a more tight connection to them than those projects did. And for this survey, they really said, no, we actually don't want them bundled. We want, they can choose our individual ones. Projects as well. So this is one of the things that City Council will be considering again on the 25th is which of these are in what configuration, if any, they choose to go forward with for our November competition. That's pretty much the major elements of the survey. One thing to note, the way this survey was weighted is based on how likely you are to vote in the 2023 elections, off-year election. So it's not getting nearly the turnout that the national elections do. And so the company actually looks at who does turn out for these off-year elections and weighted the responses accordingly. So that's one of the reasons why we see some of these get a little lower than they might in a national election where you've got a little broader perspective from. This is something that we had direction to bring back to the advisory board, to see if you all have any thoughts about going forward. We can take back as a vote of the board, or as I said, you're also welcome to speak. One thing I should clarify, when you're speaking at a public invited to be heard, you'd be speaking as an individual. You couldn't say, the Museum Advisory Board has said this, because you are speaking as an individual.
Now, you can write, as a body, you can write a resolution that is signed and approved by the board. The Library Museum has done that, and that is also part of, it's within the bylaws, right? Procedures, so.
Is there
If that's a rough
format that is expected? Or is it, we just put anything together if we choose, or?
You could put, so the Museum Advisory Board put together a letter. Now, you could do a formal resolution, which would be, what is it? Whereas the
Yeah,
Museum Advisory Board.
and that's what I mean, is there like a format that we would have, that we could
I'll
look
check
at?
in with Dawn and see if she has like if she has a template.
Yeah.
If that's an avenue you want to go, I can definitely have her forward it to you, or I can send it to you, Eric.
Yeah, and I will
Yeah.
forward it on.
So, yeah, but there, there's that option as well.
And is that something that would be best to get to city council by the next meeting, or that we would want to do and sign at the May meeting?
I think, ideally, we want to have it as soon as possible. I think the turnaround time for the 25th would be too short.
Yeah.
You won't be able to do that. But yeah, definitely the sooner the better. If that's the route you want to go. I mean, otherwise, just hearing from you all would be very impactful. But yeah, you wouldn't be able to say like Eric said, you wouldn't be able to say, as the board says, you come in as an individual resident. But you could say you're from the advisory board though.
Eric, I have 2 questions.
Huh.
Do you know how many people filled this out? The percentage of the population?
So there were 2 ways that this survey was sent out. One was a scientific sample sent out via text message, and I'm trying to remember the numbers. I don't have them off the top of my head, but it was designed as a scientifically, statistically valid survey of the Longmont community. And then there was one, the same survey could also be sent out via Facebook, email, to whoever wanted. So that one got a larger response, but actually, we can, I guess this one does not have it. Some of them have the breakdown of the text-only one versus the wider one, and they really were pretty similar. The two sides, was the scientifically valid or the just general public one, tended to come out about the same. So total several thousand people filled it out.
The second question, can you clarify, so for pulling the capital campaign out of this, what exactly, the museum gets lumped in with some of these other, the library, what would the funding be about this?
So some of that, it's really up to council's direction in terms of how they would want to fund the museum operations. But we decided to pull the capital piece, the larger piece out.
I'd like to hear from you all too. I mean, I think that was, that allows me to be able to advocate for, with your ideas and what you would need, we would be able to bring forward in our council discussion.
Since I was gone for a while, I kind of lost track, even though I did go through the newspapers and went along as best I could. But Did the council ever decide about the 900 and some thousand from the sale of the Broncos?
Gave it to, so, we have actually voted to move it to the Children's, Youth and Families. One of the things that we were looking at, and I think a lot of it was misunderstanding about how the money was supposed to be allocated. One of the very first messages we received was that it was supposed to go to youth sports, and apparently it wasn't. And I think one of the staff members said it in jest, and we all ran with it, and she's like, I'm joking again. But, so it was, yeah, it was not good. So then later we received some clarification, but it sounded like it had to go for programming, it couldn't cover capital. And so it was a lot of mixed, and then we were also hearing from Boulder County, well, let's pool all the money from all the Boulder County participating cities, and then we can redistribute. Well, we're the only one that got an amount a sizable sum. And so we were, no. No, we're not, just no.
Nice try.
So, and then we, at the same time that you know, the discussion was happening with that, we're also noticing with public safety, you know, and I work at a Title I school, you know, we're very close with children's, youth, and families as far as with our at-risk youth. And what we are noticing, especially after COVID, is that there has been this steady increase of gang-like activity among our youth. Predominantly, not necessarily our Latino or Black, white, it's a mix, but it's more low income, so our kids in poverty. So what are we doing to address that particular? And so it was really just kind of, okay, we need to find a way to use this money as a boost to support children's, youth, and families in ensuring that we get the kids that are really, like, you know, my son, he struggled a lot. His friend John himself, he struggled with drugs and alcohol, and he killed himself on Saturday. So we are finding that is happening more and more often, and we need to find ways to address and redirect, you know, through prevention and intervention before it gets out of control. So we've shifted it to, and so the youth council, and it's made up of a body of high school students, juniors and seniors predominantly. They have a whole mechanism for you know, receiving applications, so if people want to apply, or they're actually going to determine how you know, how the money would be distributed. So we're looking at different nonprofits. I believe and then on the 20, I believe it's the 20, sometime next week. Oh, no, never mind, it's in May, the second week of May. There's going to be a youth summit that will be able to engage youth to determine the best use, but it's coming through the avenue of children's, youth, and families.
Do the high schools and middle schools have peer support programs?
There is some. It is, I've noticed as a staff employee, as an employee of the district, it's very difficult to kind of navigate. We have, you know, just privacy laws. There's several things that we have that really hold us back from being able to expand some of those or connect kids with other kids. And then we have kids who are just not willing. They're disengaged with school. So, you know, we're trying to find ways, like within the city, outside of that school-like realm. So, I hope I answered your question. I think I understood what you were asking.
No,
I'm like within the schools.
I have come from working in the school system in New Jersey City where we had a multitude of things that we did to work on the gangs, the drugs, you know.
And there was,
and
we have GRIP, so we do have programs. What we have noticed is that when when Rick was heavily involved in our schools, his level of being like when, for years, you know, I guess at one time it was in the hundreds. Then it tapered down to like 14 that were affiliated with actual games. Now it's going back up, and that's been since COVID. Like I noticed that a lot of our, you know, because I've taught 30 years in the profession, and I tell you, since 2020, it has been a completely different game. The education system that I know from 10 years ago is not what it is today. So it looks totally different in our approach. I think I noticed, I've seen that kids are struggling with mental health. There's a lot more, and, you know, I have my third graders, yes.
The social.
This is
and
different.
That becomes
Yes.
where they're making
And
actions that knows.
So in looking at, I talked to high school teachers, the incoming freshmen and sophomores are acting more like 5th and 6th graders. I have my 3rd graders, it's like preschoolers. And it's that social piece. Well, why? Because we were online, we were having to be enclosed, and even for just a few months in the children's world, that is a long
It's
time.
an isolator.
It is an isolator, and it really had impacts to child development and social interactions. So we're just trying to find ways that we can address that piece. And, yeah, so that's where we're at.
So.
It was a hard decision, but.
And you've got the influx, unfortunately, of the drugs in Colorado, the fentanyl and all that stuff that's coming, and you've got kids.
Yeah.
Decent, like crazy.
So there was, however, the council did move some funding from oil and gas
Yes.
fund to the museum project. So that was about $900,000 that was designated for museum expansions. Definitely helps give us some great seed money along with donations from the Stewart Family Foundation. So that's how we're able to proceed forward with some of our first phases of the expansion.
And how much did the Stewart family, I know that they increased their.
So they have given, so far we have in hand $1 million, and then a pledge of another $4 million. We had hoped that would match a grant that we had applied for. Unfortunately, we didn't receive the grant, but they are still very much planning to give that $4 million just whenever the time is right, probably as a kickoff for capital.
So what are the challenges that you see in taking the capital campaign out of consideration for the tax initiative and trying to make that its own thing?
Actually, our consultants, the capital campaign consultants, really felt like that the bigger challenge would have been messaging if it was on the ballot. Because people would say, well, my tax dollars are already going to pay for this campaign, this building, why would I also contribute? So the sense was, you know, it's probably a much cleaner, easier message from a capital campaign perspective to say, you know, this is not being funded by the city. The city is providing, you know, the staff and the operations, but to build the building, we need private support. So that was part of what was going into that decision making. And they our consultants are still working through the feasibility study and interviewing the community to look at, you know, what the appetite out there is. It would be it's a very large campaign for Longmont, but there is certainly the wealth exists in Longmont to do it. That is something that their consultants have assured us is that yes, the resources are here. It's just a question of how we tackle it.
And I asked a long time ago, the person taught us that, what's an approximate percentage of our budget that is funded commerce in the city
Versus
versus what we do on our own through self-sustaining types of programs and grants, et cetera, et cetera.
So about 2/3 of our operating budget comes from the city. And 1/3 is from earned income, grants, also tax dollars through SCFD, but it's not city tax dollars. The Suffolk County Natural Culture Tax District. It's interesting to note that when you compare that to many of the other municipal museums around the Denver metro area, most of them are much, much higher, 90% or higher in what they get in terms of tax revenue. So we generate a lot more revenue, generate a lot more grants than most of the municipal museums around our floor.
And our operating budget is what?
Right around $2 million.
Two.
And how are you seeing that change with the expansion?
We've identified that at a minimum, we would need to add another 6 positions just to operate the new facility. Right now, we have 13 full-time positions. So we'd be looking at adding another half again as much to our staff for the bare minimum operational level. And ultimately, to really fully program the space, there's probably about 12 to 15 staff positions. And that we expect to build out over a number of years. It's not something we would anticipate all coming online immediately. We've actually phased this expansion because we know that it will take time to raise the money, it will take time to complete each phase. So that's part of why we phase in operations as well.
What are some of the things that are in phase 1?
So phase 1, which actually is fully funded, is redoing. We have a storage room on our 3rd floor that will be converted, part of it into offices. We are bursting at the seams with offices. And then that is actually already out to bid. That work should be done by the end of October. Phase 2, or phase 1B then, which hopefully will start this fall, is reconfiguring the museum's courtyard. So it is not terribly efficient for the variety of uses, the summer concerts, the summer camps that it gets used for now. And so it would mean the courtyard would become a lot more of a level space. There's a lot of dips and things in it. And so it could be used for more rentals, could be used for, we would actually relocate the what's now kind of a pavilion and turn it into a bit more of a band shell on the other side of the courtyard. So it would be a lot better venue for concerts. Plus we would have an outdoor play area that would connect to our Discovery Days classroom in some form. So that should start this fall, hopefully be open by next summer. Then phase 2 is a gallery expansion. So that will add about 6,000 square feet of gallery space and then another 7,000 feet to support all of our exhibit spaces, construction, storage, and that's a little bit fundraising dependent, but hopefully start construction next year. And then the last phase, phase 3, would add new classrooms, a new entry, new gift shop, amenity cafe, and would allow us to do the final build out of our hands-on children's gallery, about 2,000 square foot children's gallery within existing space, as well as a new core district exhibit room. And the one we've had for about 17 years now, called frontage rising. It's really designed to only last about. So those are the three big phases: the courtyard, gallery, and then education and places.
Did you study that the shop would be expanded in there?
Yes,
I only
the
asked
shop.
because when I was working on the multicultural project with, it was the lady from San Antonio or Austin, Merck. This was about a year ago.
Okay.
We're making these spoons and these bowls.
Margarita.
And being back in the shop, I never been there before, but how do they get everything accomplished in that small space?
Yes. So that's a big part of our expansion is to add more workspace, more storage space, a new loading dock. So our loading dock is north facing, it can be south facing, so not as icy in the winter. Other questions about the expansion or the tax initiative? So.
But just to clarify, so kind of related to that, so Susie's gonna send you a template of a resolution.
I sent
In
an
case you
email to
decide
Don,
we're
to see
gonna
if there,
do
yeah,
that.
and I'll forward that on. And then Joanne, I sent you an email of the, about the board recruitment. It just has more information. It's essentially, we'll only extend it if we're not getting enough applications by the deadline.
We already got the 3 minutes.
There you go.
You just need
Perfect.
one more.
We'll extend it for the other boards.
Yeah, I think it would make sense for us to put forth some sort of resolution or statement of support or something like that as a board, in order to let the council know that the board does support the expansion, is in favor of the expansion, and wants to see it go forward in whatever capacity is.
So would that be a topic at our May meeting, and would that be too late to get the council by the time we, was it 30 minutes or anything? So if we decide, and we send it to the council after that?
I mean, it could be emailed to us at any time. It doesn't have to be during a Tuesday. So just as soon as you
Well,
put something
I just
together,
want
we'll be
to, if
able
we
to.
delay it 30 days, I mean, is that gonna be a useless tool that we're sending to city council in a month? Because we've already made your decision.
Yeah, we made our decision.
Or you're real close.
It would be really.
Because we haven't lobbied
When are we looking
hard enough
to
yet.
decide, is it the 20th?
It's on the agenda for April 25th.
Okay, interesting. When I look at the Prime Bill, I didn't see anything done, so let's try again.
I'm pretty sure it was.
I usually don't know until.
The agenda is always a little fluid, but that's,
I know.
that's my understanding.
No, I think it would be meaningful. Especially then we can have something public as voters, because now then it would be really time to to engage the voters and make sure, that people understand that it's not just city council. So oftentimes, well, city council put this on. Well, there were many people who contributed ideas and desires to make sure that this got where we're at today. It's not just the 7 of us, it was a community effort, so.
So if you get it, if council gets it by the end of May, third week of May, that would be adequate, I feel.
At least then
It
we
would
can
still
start
be
adding it
taken
to our, when we get it on the ballot.
Decision-making process.
For upcoming meetings. They're probably not tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a template, I will be in town next week, but I can certainly try and put something together and email it out to the board for feedback.
Great.
Throw on some electronic signatures and
Okay.
send it on to the city council. Okay, we'll try to hurry up and get that done.
And I did send the email, I just forgot.
Is that something that that would be best to just send directly to you, Susie? Or
I think maybe Joanne.
have Joanne send it?
Yeah,
Okay.
and then that way it's not violating any kind of sunshine laws or, just kind of keeps it open.
Okay. Okay. Anything else on this topic? Okay. Any unfinished business? All right, any new business? Any board comments?
I don't want to prolong the meeting, but this is just something that I want to throw out there for our board to be thinking about it, and Eric also for sure. I was thinking, this is for auditorium programming, is that, and I don't know if there would be an interest, all might have certainly a better sense of that. So over the years, there was an old group of brothers called the Marx Brothers. Groucho, Arpachico, Memo, Zeppo, I think that's about it. They did a number of movies. They were a vaudeville act before that. And anyway, I have an association with Harpo's son, Billy Marx. And he's an interesting fellow, unlike the persona that his uncles and father represented in their madcap films. But he and I were talking when I saw him again a few weeks ago in California, that and the way it came up was he was talking to some younger kids in their late 20s, early 30s, and they had no idea who the Marx Brothers were. And so I interrupted and talked to the kids too about they really should look on TCM or someplace where the Marx Brothers film, because they can be pretty funny sometimes, in my opinion. But anyway, Billy Marx, well, first of all, he's an accomplished musician. He was a Juilliard School of Music grad, and he's still entertaining in Palm Springs, California area. But he and I were talking, he has a lot of old 8mm filming tapes of his family. And we talked about maybe putting some things together like that. Clips of maybe some of the old movies. And plus his home movies, or the family's home movies. And making a presentation. I've worked with a film festival group in the area. But then I thought the Stewart would be a great venue for this. If he came here, he's interested, but he said, hurry up, because he's 86. But he's still entertained, he's still playing the piano. And we were talking about putting some type of program together with some old film clips of the movies and then his own movies, and him doing question and answers and things to the audience, with the audience, about his family you know, things that he remembered about old Hollywood and things like that. Just something I just want to throw out there, if you think there'd be any interest. Originally, I thought about just working with the film festival group that I work with. But then I thought, oh, I don't, you know, the Stewart would be a great venue for that. And maybe in conjunction with the film festival group. Pardon?
Don't they have connection to being Jewish brothers? Marx brothers?
Yeah, they were certainly Jewish.
Okay, the other thing that you may want to contact is the Jewish Community Center and the Jewish Film Festival.
Well, that's a good point.
Because we could, they could get involved in sponsoring something like
That would be good too.
that. So it would be, that would be phenomenal. Is there anybody who could do putting it together? Does he have somebody who can do the production
Yeah.
of putting the documentary together?
Yeah.
This would be a documentary.
It would be like a documentary, is the thought process. And then maybe, even, like I said, since he's such an accomplished musician, somehow work some live music into it.
Again, it just, just knowing that a little bit of background, I think connecting it with Jewish Film Festival and with the JCC as well. I mean,
No, that's a very good point. I didn't think of that
yeah,
aspect of it.
because it really has, where did they come from? I remember seeing some stuff about it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, the history of that, I don't want to bore everybody, but, they weren't allowed, there was one country club in Palm Springs back in the 30s, they were not allowed to join that country club or go into it. So Frank Sinatra in the 40s helped them with Jack Benny create their own country club.
right, I mean, that's the background that happened. There was all kinds of country clubs.
Oh, yeah.
Were singing, no blacks, no
Oh, yeah.
Jews,
Yeah. But I thought
that's a background.
But I thought it was interesting, Frank Sinatra connection. He was Italian, not Jewish, but he was very proactive back then. Kind of an interesting sidelight.
Sounds like a very interesting program.
But like Willie said, they're very.
You could separate some of the, bring the music to the Stewart auditorium and have some sort of meeting. In other words, do it conjointly, have something conjointly with the JCC, the Jewish Film Festival and the Stewart with music.
Yeah.
Put them together as three separate, a couple of separate pieces. But definitely, because there is that background, I think
No, that's good, yeah, thanks.
that might be an interesting thing to do. Because it is.
Okay. The only other comment that I wanted to make was we had been choosing at the end of each meeting to decide whether we were going to go online or in person. I would like to propose that we move forward in person permanently.
Until COVID.
Yeah, until the next public health emergency.
Oh, yeah, I agree. I don't see.
Any objections?
I move that we continue to meet on a permanent basis until
In person.
January.
Okay, do I have a second? Thank you, Linda. All in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. So we'll be moving to in-person meetings from here on out. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Any other comments? Anything? Is there a motion to adjourn? Move to adjourn. Thank you, Katie. A second? Thank you, Katie. All in favor? That's unanimous.